Hi, my friends, and welcome back to the 52 Sunday Dinners Project, where we are taking all of the menus out of this cookbook, the 52 Sunday Dinners Cookbook from Women's World Magazine in 1924, and we're going week by week and recreating each of the menus that are in here. Now, for this week, this is the 25th Sunday dinner, and here's what's on the menu today. We're starting off with a cream of potato soup, and then for our main course, we're going in with a chicken salad. On the side of that, we'll have boiled buttered rice and scalloped tomatoes to serve on top of it. For our salad course, we have cucumber salad, and for dessert, we have two options, including spice cake, which is served with an orange icing on top, and then we're also going to have apple amber. And as we said last week, normally this is the part where I say, of course we're having coffee, but we're not. We're going in with a much cooler drink this time, and we're gonna go with iced tea. For our tartar dressing, I assume that I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm thinking about steak tartare, and this is certainly, or tuna tartare. This is definitely not the same thing. I have our mayonnaise and our mustard mixed up in here, and then onion, our sweet pickle, which I detest. I know some of you like sweet pickles. I love sour dill pickles, but sweet pickles I do not like, but maybe it'll be good in this. And then our capers. Now, capers are already pretty small, I think, so chopping them up was interesting and a little difficult, but we got it there. And there we are, done. Something that I find a little bit odd about this recipe is, okay, we're using the warmed molasses. Great. Is the butter that we're using supposed to be melted? Is it supposed to be just regular? Is it supposed to go in? I mean, I cut it in pieces because that's what makes the most sense, but the way it seems to be in here, it feels like it should already be melted, but it doesn't say that. So does it melt in this foaming molasses mixture? I don't know, but I don't know. Very, very interesting. We'll go ahead and get everything added, and hopefully the way that we're adding it is correct. There is no way this is right. But we've already committed to it and done it, but there is no way that's right. I wonder if we were supposed to cream the sugar and butter together separately and then add these. That's not at all what the recipe says, but there's just no way that this is correct. Okay, so before we add the eggs, we're actually supposed to cool this. So I'm really guessing this was supposed to be not warmed molasses, but hot molasses. I'm wondering if I should just pop this into the oven for like 1 minute to heat up and get this butter melted down kind of for it, and then let it cool after, because that's the only way this makes sense. All right, this seems more correct. Now let's let this cool for a while before we add these eggs. I think we're cool enough. I can touch this bowl now, so I'd say we're probably plenty cool enough. We'll add our eggs. We have 3 yolks and 1 white in here. We'll add our yolks one by one, and we are just mixing. We are not beating in. There is 1, 2. We have our flour. This one is gluten-free, so I can actually try this cake this week. And we're just gonna mix this in. Oh, I forgot about the sour milk. I have regular milk, and I've just added a little bit of vinegar to it to make it kind of like a buttermilk, I suppose. can see the little chunks in there. You know, we talk about this pretty often. I am relatively sure that all of this is not going to fit into here, but maybe it will. We may need a second cake pan though. Ooh, maybe not. Maybe all this will fit. Yeah, it definitely will. My eyes have no concept of actual size. Underneath of all there, if you can see, we have our onion, there's celery tops everywhere, and let's get this all boiled up in our 2 cups of water. You know, I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering back correctly, several of you, at least one of you, but I think several of you have talked about, instead of running things through the strainer that we've been using, the different mesh strainers, why not run it through the ricer? So we have our potato soup here. I think that's a great idea, particularly for the potatoes. We use the ricer on the potatoes often. Why not for this? So we're gonna go ahead and try that. I'm not sure how the onion will move through the ricer, but we're gonna try it out. It's nice and steamy. Ow! All right, at first this just feels like mashed potatoes. Just keep adding all of the milk. I'm not sure if this is going to thicken when it's not on a double boiler, but I guess we'll just mix this up a little bit and then we'll get it on the double boiler. Doing a little bit different of a double boiler today. Normally we have the 2 glass Pyrex, but I didn't think that was gonna be big enough, so we're doing it the old-fashioned way. We talk about this many times, that likely the desserts are a choice. They give us several options for desserts and you're supposed to probably just pick one of them. But of course we pick both or all of them because we like them. And I am just assuming you all feel the same way that I do, because you should. But if I had to have the choice between making these 2 desserts, if I was a busy mother in the 1920s, unquestionably I would pick the apple amber because it's so simple. We're just chopping thinly some apples, throwing them in a pan, sprinkling some cinnamon sugar over, throwing it in the oven and calling it a day. No, not really any measuring, not any mixing. It's just chop, throw. So easy. Now it says to sprinkle sugar between and then finish off with the cinnamon, nutmeg, butter. However, we have cinnamon sugar right here. We're gonna go ahead and sprinkle the cinnamon sugar in between each layer instead of just sugar, because I think it's just going to be better that way, and I think maybe our foremothers would have done the same thing. Or maybe they wouldn't. Maybe cinnamon was expensive back then, and if they saw this, they would be thinking, what a wasteful little idiot this girl is. But we're gonna go with it anyway. I find this icing recipe very interesting. It's not a meringue, but it's also not frosting or an icing. It's like a mix between the 2. I'm wondering how it's gonna hold up if it sits for more than, I guess, for overnight or something. We have our orange zest here. I'm gonna add just about half of it, and our juice of the whole orange. It's a really, I used Cara oranges. Let me show you the color. It's almost the color of an egg yolk, actually. It's beautiful. We have Cara oranges, and I don't know what kind of oranges they would have been using at the time. Maybe not this type, but it's just beautiful. It smells phenomenal in this kitchen right now. As soon as we started zesting this orange rind, ooh, it was good. And I'm gonna go ahead and add, of course, this confectioner sugar. We're gonna sift it in there, but I don't know, it just seems very odd to me. Maybe the egg white is going to lend itself to, I guess, creating some air and lightness in this, but we're mixing everything in with it, so I don't know that it is going to. The amount of powdered sugar this is taking is insane. I think there is already close to 3 pounds, a 3-pound bag in here. I don't know if I add any more, it's not quite spreadable, I think. I mean, it's spreadable, but I don't know if it's thick enough, but if I add any more sugar to this, I don't know that it'll be edible. It'll be so sweet. So I think I'm gonna stop here, add the butter, and I don't know, either the recipe is off or maybe the amount of orange juice was too much. Maybe the oranges they were using back then would have been much smaller, but it didn't seem like an overwhelming amount. Also, there's so much of this, there's no chance that this is going to just go on the top. This is definitely going to go down the sides as well. All right, let's see if we can get this reasonably on here. Maybe it'll harden up after a little while, I don't know. Maybe it's only supposed to be on top because of how sweet it is. Because otherwise it would be too overwhelming. Either way, if that's the case, we have enough here for like 10 cakes. I baked up some chicken. Now it's all cut up. We're gonna put our French dressing all around it to marinate. Just let that sit for a while. We have our scalloped tomatoes, which is actually listed as scalloped tomatoes in the menu. And it says to go to page 40, which is scalloped tomatoes. And the menu next week has a recipe for scalloped tomatoes. I know the way I'm saying this probably makes no sense. However, this cookbook sometimes makes no sense. Think of all the salad recipes so far that we've had. This is the easiest, most simple one. All we're doing is peeling these little, it says short cucumbers. I just bought mini cucumbers. I don't know if that's right or not, but we're close enough. And then we just have to cut them lengthwise. And that's it. Put them in some ice water, put them on lettuce, a little of the tartar dressing on top, and we're done. Have our little cucumbers on our lettuce leaves. I have to be honest, I went to get this out of the refrigerator because that's what I'm storing it in, and I saw this and I thought, how did my whipped cream get that moldy that fast? I forgot that we made this, and that legit looks like whipped cream got pretty moldy in the fridge. It is not, it's just the tartar. There we have it. For this chicken salad, it says to use either celery or white cabbage if celery is not available. We do have celery available, but I've never had white cabbage before in any type of salad other than, I mean, I shouldn't say that, in coleslaw and vegetable salads, but never in like a chicken or tuna or anything like that. I always put celery, so I'm kind of interested to see what cabbage is gonna be like, so let's try that out. Drain the dressing off this chicken and we'll mix it up with our cabbage and celery seed. We'll be back in a few minutes to see if every kernel stands on end. All right, let's see. Well, I don't believe it looks any different, but we're gonna go ahead and pour our butter over it and fluff it, and we're gonna get to eating. Now this doesn't say whether to pour it over in the colander or to put it in a bowl. So I guess I think we should put it in the bowl. I think the colander seems silly. Okay, my friends, let's get to trying everything. We're starting off this time, we're back to a soup. And you know, I'm a little surprised by the choice of soup because it's more of a heartier cream of potato soup where we have a lot of cooler kind of things, I guess, through the meal, through the menu. Our main dish is cold, and we've been seeing this, our drink, instead of coffee, we're having iced tea. So I would think that for this meal, we would have gone with something a little more refreshing, like a cold soup or some fruit, or like last week we had what I assume was a drink. Maybe I was wrong, I don't know. But we're gonna go ahead in with this heartier soup and see how it tastes. I smell the potatoes strong. That's not bad at all. I do feel a little bit like I'm eating very runny mashed potatoes, but not in a bad way, I suppose. Now, I didn't have any gluten-free crackers for me to put with this, and I think if I did, it would be a lot tastier. It would bring it up a level. That salt on a cracker with this, or crouton, would really level this up a good bit. And I could see for this right here, tasting it and imagining what it would have been like with the salted cracker, you could have that cream of potato soup as a pretty hearty meal in the wintertime, I think, on its own, or maybe with a little source of protein inside. Maybe throw a few cubes of ham or something. Like if we had some of that leftover ham from last week, cubing a little bit of that up into this cream of potato soup, that could be a whole meal in and of itself. But overall, it's not too bad. For our main course, we have our chicken salad here, and we have it nicely decorated, I think, with our sliced stuffed olives and our hard-boiled eggs. And then we have our rice with the scalloped tomatoes on top. Before starting into this, I just have to say I find it just a bit of an odd combination for me. Hot rice and cooked tomatoes and then cold chicken salad. To me, these things just don't pair together. And also, there's a tremendous amount of dishes in this, unless I'm serving it wrong. But if they want the chicken salad to be served decorated on lettuce leaves like this, my assumption is it would be on its own individual plate. Now, maybe they meant to make a whole tray of it or serving dish of it like this, and then everybody scoops a little bit onto their plate. And the same with the rice and the tomatoes. It would be on the same plate as this. Or I guess I'm just not sure. And the same thing with the salad. I've always served the salad on a separate plate instead of one serving dish decorated how they suggest. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think this should have been all separate dishes? Should have all been on one? What are your thoughts and your experiences? And while you tell me that, let's try the chicken salad first. When I have had chicken salad in the past, again, like I said before, I've never had it with the cabbage. And typically when I have it, there's some sort of fruit in here. Nani makes a really good one with a mango chutney. And I've had it with walnuts and grapes before. I enjoyed that. Just never had it quite like this before, but we're going to find out how it tastes. The chicken smell with the mayonnaise actually reminds me of the smell of walnuts a little bit, even though there are no walnuts in here. It smells okay though. It tastes good. It's not bad, but I think it's missing a little bit of acidity. It's a little heavy in the flavor, I think, and it feels like it's kind of pulling the flavors down a little bit on the heavier side. It needs something to brighten it up. Let's try it with the decorative little olives here. Maybe that will help. The olives help a little bit, but not quite enough. I think it does need a little bit of that fruit in there just to brighten it up a little bit. I would like maybe even a little bit of lemon zest in this. I bet would be really good. We have that orange zest left over. Maybe we could have put orange zest in here. It might have been pretty tasty that way, but overall, not bad. I think it just needs a little bit of brightness to level it up. Let's try our rice and tomatoes. They smell nice together. It smells like it should be some sort of a soup, like a tomato and rice soup or something. They taste great together. The pairing of the tomatoes and the rice has all that butter in there too, so there's a nice butteriness and richness to the rice, and then that more acidic tomato on top. Those pair very well together. However, I don't think they pair with the chicken salad quite like maybe they should. It's not bad together. It just, to me, they don't belong together. So speaking of all the different dishes we're using, here is our salad course. Very cute, very different, I think, than what we are used to seeing with this. Usually we don't see that elongated shape with our salads, but this is very fun. Let's try this with our dressing. It smells very good. It smells very fresh. Let's try it out. I love cucumbers, and I love the way they're served here. Now, we know that mayonnaise isn't my favorite, but it actually doesn't go too bad with this together. Maybe it's the addition of those pickled items in there, those more acidic items, the capers, the pickles, and whatever. I think there's something else we put in here, but I think they pair pretty well with this cucumber. And if you're somebody who likes mayonnaise, I think you would really enjoy this. And it's kind of a simple but fun, different way to serve a salad. So it's got my vote. All right, let's see how this spice cake turned out with this. The icing on top has hardened a good bit, not significantly, but enough. Let's see. Oh, it is very easy to cut into. Woo! Very easy and eager to get out. I'll show you what it looks like on the inside. There we go. I think that looks pretty great. Let's give it a try. We have our spice cake, and then we also have our apple amber right there with our whipped cream. So there is a lot of spice, cinnamon in both of these things. I think we'll try the apple first. It is very tender and soft. Those apples at the top, I had all that cinnamon sugar on top, and they kept their shape and were maybe a little bit harder or spongier. They might have like just slightly dehydrated, but also cooked. The ones in the bottom, they're almost unrecognizable. They're just like applesauce already. They're a mush. I bet it's going to be delicious. Oh, it smells good. Apple and cinnamon together, just an amazing smell. Oh yeah, that's delicious together. It was so easy to make, but also it is so good. We could repeat this multiple times, and I don't think I would get sick of it. If I was making this on Sunday and I knew that it tasted like this, I might make maybe a triple batch so that we could eat it all week. You could put this on oatmeal. You could eat it just like this as dessert on top of ice cream with pork. Oh, this is good. Well, now I feel a little sad for my cake because it has to live up to this expectation. It's, if you've ever performed or anything and you have to go up on stage after somebody who is amazing, this poor little spice cake has to go up on stage after that apple amber. I'm sorry, little guy, you're going to have to be amazing. It does smell very good. It has more of a fall winter smell to me than a nice summery smell, but actually the apple cinnamon did too. Those are things I associate with the fall or the winter. And something that I was surprised about with this spice cake, there's no raisins or walnuts in it, which I'm not complaining about. I don't particularly love raisins or walnuts in my cake, but like last week we had a chocolate cake that had raisins and walnuts, but not a spice cake. Usually when I think of spice cake, I do think of adding those raisins or dried fruits and nuts into it, but not this one. This one we're leaving alone. Let's try it. We have the icing on there. I do not smell the orange at all on this, just the spice. That is really good. And the icing, my expectation for the icing was that it would be overwhelmingly, cloyingly sweet. And maybe if we ate it on its own and tasted it, the little, like dipped a spoon in there and tasted it on its own, it might be. But on top of this cake, I think those flavors are very well balanced. And I certainly tasted the orange once I had the whole thing in my mouth, even though I didn't smell it. The flavor comes through once you start eating it, but it is not overwhelmingly sweet like what I would have expected. I still think I like the apple more, but this spice cake is not too shabby at all. The iced tea, I think, pairs very well with this meal. The only thing it maybe seemed a little bit strange eating it next to was the rice and tomatoes, but not that strange. It wasn't that much off. Just I think with everything else, it pairs well with it. The rice and the tomatoes just, I don't know. Overall, I didn't think this menu was too bad. Most of the things in it I felt needed maybe something a little different to elevate it or change it a little bit. Like the potato soup and the chicken salad, they needed something, just a little bit of something. But overall, and again, I also thought some of the things went well together, some of the things maybe didn't. So I think overall, I'd give this one a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Nutrition-wise, this was not a bad one again. We used chicken breast for the chicken salad, and although we did add some mayonnaise on there, the lean chicken breast is a very good source of protein. We had several different instances of vegetables in here, and if we had chosen the apple amber instead of the spice cake, we would have had a nice, healthy fruit dessert. And I guess if we would have chosen the spice cake over the apples, that would have made it, a little bit less on the nutrient-dense side. However, this meal overall, I think I'd also give it maybe a 6 out of 10 for this one. The price of this one was actually a good bit cheaper than some of the ones we've had recently. If I had to calculate for 6 people what this would have been, it's around probably about between $40 and $50, so not too bad. If you like what you saw today, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel so that you never miss another Sunday dinner. And if you'd like to join us next week, watch as we make an attempt at strawberry ice cream, and we'll try our hand at sponge cake again. See you then.